Hello, my name is Joe, and welcome to my channel, Joe's Book and Movie Corner. Today I have my second episode in My Odyssey through science fiction. So I'm basically documenting my way through my just gigantic TBR of science fiction novels. And I'm bouncing around in no particular order from like the pulp era all the way to new wave and cyberpunk and beyond. And I know I'm going to be having a lot of fun doing this. And I just wanted to document my journey. So for this episode, I read a book that I really enjoyed quite a bit. It is The Quality of Mercy, written in 1965 by British science fiction author D.G. Compton. And if he's not outright a new wave author, I'm guessing he's new wave adjacent. Apologies if I'm messing up details there, but from my understanding, if it's not new wave, it's similar to new wave. Kind of a little more, I kind of hate to say this, but a little more literary, a little more character and social science focused. And that's definitely the case here, and less outright genre, SF genre elements. So this is essentially a Cold War techno-thriller story, which is at first mildly dystopian. And then as the book goes on, we kind of build towards this big, horrible secret that you know is coming, this big kind of conspiracy that's happening. And we feel the dystopian elements building as the book goes on. It's very character-based. The main character is a Royal Air Force officer, and he's going out on missions with this kind of, it's a joint British-American group that's flying these very top-secret missions. You don't know exactly what the mission is at first. All I will say is that it has to do with flying over Soviet airspace, and it has to do with missile defense. And there's even more to it than that once the mission is kind of revealed. The experience of this story is kind of the opposite from the previous book I read, Nonstop by Brian Aldiss. In Nonstop, in the first half of the book, you feel ahead of the characters. It's a generational starship story. The characters have been on the ship for so long, they've reverted to tribalism, and they don't really fully understand the nature of their world, a big giant starship, but you do as the reader. You kind of are ahead of them, and they catch up to you. This book is the opposite. You don't quite know the full picture of what the nature of their mission is. The character's a little bit ahead of you. You just know it has something to do with flying into Soviet airspace. It's super top secret. And you know that some people may have moral qualms about it. And the public at large, in the background, there's a kind of disease that's killing a lot of people. This is where kind of the dystopian elements start to come in. And some people believe that maybe is the nature of this top secret mission. Is the disease, is it caused by nuclear testing, or is it maybe somehow this top secret mission, is it somehow involved in this disease that's killing people? So it's kind of techno-thriller-esque, it's dystopian, it's very character-focused, and I almost think that, if you like dystopian fiction, which admittedly I haven't read too much of. I've read 1984. Maybe this book is like, maybe not in 1984, but maybe if you're a YA dystopian fan. And again, I've not read any YA dystopian fiction. I haven't really read much YA in general. And if I'm mocking YA and YA readers, I apologize. This might come off as mocking a little bit, but it almost seems kind of like a slap in the face to like my idea of what YA dystopian fiction is probably like. I don't know this for certain, but I'm assuming that the reason that dystopian stories are so popular in YA is because in dystopian fiction, you have this oppressive regime that's controlling society, and usually I imagine there's very often a protagonist that's a surrogate for the reader, and it feels good to feel outrage against this oppressive system, and the main character eventually sees how it's wrong, and we're gonna fight for justice, and it feels good to be outraged. We can make ties to the real world, and it feels good to just fight against injustice. And this book is kind of just a slap in the face to that. This book is like the cold reality of dystopian society. There's not much you can do, probably, to fight against a dystopian, oppressive society. This book is, if the main character is a surrogate for the reader, the book is telling you, no, you're doing your part. You're involved in the oppression, whether you know it or not. And if you realize that you're involved in the oppression, well, doesn't it kind of make sense? Shouldn't we continue to be doing this? And, oh, wait, you have moral qualms about what we're doing? Well, you know what? I got to tell you, that's commendable. It's understandable. We get it. It's not for everyone to be involved in what we're doing. So if you want to back out, that's totally fine. Just before you, no one saw you came in here, right? Good. Just do me a favor. Hey, look at that wall real quick as I pull out my gun and blow your brains out. That's kind of what the dystopian regime in this book, the controlling element, sort of feels like in this book. It's not what I envision YA dystopian fiction to be like. It's very bleak. It's very dark. The main character, this isn't really a big spoiler here, but you get the idea pretty early on that he's like, am I a part of this oppression? Now, I will say, story-wise, halfway through the book, there is a very, very thrilling sequence where you finally catch up to the main character and you go on a mission with him and you kind of understand the nature of what they're doing as they're flying over Soviet airspace, and something in their mission doesn't go quite right, and it's really, really good. It's really tense. And after this halfway point, I almost felt like the book kind of slowed down for a little bit. And there was this one chapter where, so I mentioned before, it's very character focused, and his relationship with his wife is very important. And after he goes on the mission, is he potentially going to cheat on his wife with another woman? And we spend a chapter kind of dealing with that. And during this portion, I was like, yes, there was some commentary on the dystopian, the quietly mild dystopian elements of society, but I kind of wish at this point in the book, the second half, we had leaned a little more into genre. And we could go one or two ways. If you leaned into more of the SF genre elements, I kind of wish the dystopian elements were maybe a little more in your face, or maybe we built up more to the big reveal of the big horrible truth. There's an old kind of crazy, they call him the squadron leader. He doesn't even get a name, but you get the sense he knows something about society. He knows something about this big, horrible truth. And the big reveal is you sense it's coming at some point. And I wish we had more of a build-up with that character, the squadron leader. Or if you didn't want to go more sci-fi genre dystopian route, if we just leaned into more of the techno-thriller aspects and we added more techno-thrillery adventure action aspects to the story. But it doesn't do that. And even though as I was reading it, I wish it went more genre, I kind of appreciate that it actually didn't do that. And it remained focused on the characters. And then as we get towards the end, I won't say too much about it, but it is very bleak and it is very like, wow, this got dark. And yeah, I definitely want to read more from this author. Even though on paper, like I'm mentioning, I wish it was a little more genre, sci-fi elements heavy. Something like Brian Aldiss's Nonstop. I gotta be honest, even though I had like my complaint here about it, I'm more excited to read more D.G. Compton than I am Brian Aldiss. So I don't know. So even though I wish it was more genre, I really liked it, and I'm intrigued by this author, and I absolutely want to read more of him. By the way, if this author sounds interesting to you, I read it on my Kindle, and I discovered that a lot of these, American authors, but a lot of British SF authors of like this era, there's, I think it's, what is it, Galance? Am I saying that right? Galance? Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. But Galance has, it seems to be an ebook brand called Gateways or SF Gateways, Gateway Essentials sometimes, and these brands are just very, very inexpensive, I think it goes beyond SF, maybe fantasy, maybe mystery as well. But I'm noticing the SF titles. They can be found for very, very cheap on Amazon. But you kind of have to seek them out. And certain authors, if you're looking for kind of British 60s SF authors, you'll see a lot of these books for very cheap and they see, I'm putting up a picture here, but it's got almost that old school Galance yellow, very simple kind of look to the covers of these ebooks, and I'm having fun. I've bought a few from a number of different authors just to kind of put them as placeholders, to kind of put placeholders in authors that I want to explore further. But I recommend them if you want cheap science fiction ebooks. Check out this book, D.G. Compton, and then just kind of explore on Amazon, and you'll discover other authors with these very inexpensive ebooks. Whereas, maybe the physical copies of these books are out of print and maybe hard to find. But yeah, that was my second book. I really recommend it, especially if you like dystopian fiction, or if you like something a little more character-based and maybe a little more literary. And I'm really excited to continue on with this author in the future. But that's all for now. Thank you.